When Marcus raised his paddle in the packed auction room of Willow Creek, Montana, and won the rights to Derek's labor contract by paying off the massive debt in one decisive bid, he thought it was just another smart business move to bolster his ranch workforce. He had no idea that the attractive young man standing there with haunted eyes was Derek, the son of the family Marcus had destroyed 10 years ago through his aggressive land acquisitions that forced them into bankruptcy and tragedy. The gavel fell with a sharp crack, and the crowd murmured as Marcus stood up, adjusting his worn cowboy hat. The county debt auction was a common enough event in these parts, a legal way for struggling folks to have their loans settled in exchange for contracted labor on local ranches. Marcus had come looking for reliable hands ahead of the harsh winter season on Oak Ridge Ranch, his sprawling 500-acre spread that had grown from a modest family operation into one of the county's most successful cattle and horse outfits. At 38, he ran the place with quiet efficiency, but labor shortages had been biting hard since the last 2 workers quit for city jobs. Bidding on Derek seemed practical, nothing more. Derek stood on the small stage, his hands loose at his sides, dark hair falling over his forehead, his build lean but strong from years of manual work. He was 32, though the lines around his green eyes made him look older. Marcus signed the paperwork quickly, the auctioneer handing over the contract with a nod. "He's yours for 2 years, Mr. Harlan. Good luck." Marcus led the way out to his dusty pickup truck, the Montana wind whipping across the parking lot. "Name's Marcus. You'll bunk in the crew house at the ranch. Work starts at 5 sharp. Any questions?" Derek climbed in without a word, his jaw tight, eyes fixed on the road ahead. The drive took 40 minutes through rolling hills dotted with cattle, past the red barn that marked the entrance to Oak Ridge. Marcus tried small talk about the weather and the upcoming harvest, but Derek only grunted responses. At the ranch, the main house stood solid against the mountains, its porch light glowing in the fading afternoon. Marcus showed Derek to the bunkhouse, a simple wooden building with 4 bunks and a shared kitchen. Old Joe, the foreman who'd been with Marcus since his father's day, gave Derek a quick tour of the stables and feed shed. "Kid looks capable," Joe muttered later over coffee. "Quiet type, though. Hope he pulls his weight." Marcus nodded, but something about Derek's silence nagged at him. That night, alone in the big house, Marcus stared at the family photos on the mantel. His father had built this empire on tough deals, the kind that sometimes left others behind. Marcus had taken over after the old man's heart attack, vowing to run things cleaner. Being gay in Willow Creek meant keeping that part of himself locked away tight. No dates, no risks. The town church and the feed store crowds didn't take kindly to anything outside the norm. He poured a whiskey and wondered why the new hand's face stuck in his mind. The first week blurred into routine. Derek rose before dawn, mucked stalls, fed the horses, and repaired fencing with steady hands. Marcus watched from the saddle during morning rides, noting how Derek moved with natural grace around the animals. One afternoon, while loading hay bales, their shoulders brushed. Derek pulled back fast, muttering an apology. Marcus felt an unfamiliar warmth but pushed it down. "You're doing good work," he said that evening at supper in the mess hall. The crew of 5 men laughed and joked, but Derek ate in silence, his eyes distant. Marcus learned bits from the contract file. Derek had run a small repair shop that failed, piling up debt after his mother's medical bills. No mention of family beyond that. As days turned to weeks, the ranch settled into a rhythm. Snow flurries dusted the pastures early, and the men worked harder to prepare for winter. Marcus found himself seeking Derek out for tasks, drawn by the quiet competence. One evening, fixing a broken gate together under the barn lights, Derek spoke more than usual. "This place reminds me of somewhere I used to know," he said softly, hammer in hand. Marcus asked what he meant, but Derek clammed up again. The attraction Marcus felt was growing, a dangerous pull in a town where one wrong whisper could ruin everything. He told himself it was just respect for a good worker. Derek, meanwhile, lay awake in his bunk, fists clenched. The man who had bought him was the same Marcus Harlan whose company had foreclosed on his father's land a decade ago. driving the family to ruin and his dad to an early grave. Revenge simmered, but so did something else he refused to name. The conflict inside him built like the coming storm. The winter wind howled across the Montana plains, carrying the scent of pine and snow as Marcus and Derek worked side by side in the barn. Marcus had never expected the new hand to become such a steady presence. But Derek's skill with the horses had earned the crew's quiet respect. "That kid's got magic with the mares," Joe said one morning over breakfast, passing the coffee pot. Marcus nodded, hiding the way his pulse quickened whenever Derek entered the room. The rancher kept his distance, focusing on ledgers and supply runs into town, but the long evenings brought them closer. One night, after a late calving, they shared a thermos of hot coffee in the barn loft. "You ever think about leaving this life?" Marcus asked, voice low. Derek stared into the dark. "Leaving's not always an option when the past follows you." The words hung heavy, but Marcus let it pass. Town trips revealed the pressures of small-town life. At the feed store, locals clapped Marcus on the back, praising the ranch's success. "Harlan blood runs strong," they said, unaware of the secrets Marcus carried. His mother called weekly from her condo in Billings, pushing him to find a wife. "You're not getting younger, son. This ranch needs an heir." Marcus smiled through the phone, the weight of his hidden identity pressing harder. He had known he was gay since high school, but coming out meant losing everything: the ranch, the respect, maybe even the land his father had fought for. Derek, meanwhile, wrote letters to his distant aunt in secret, the only family left after the foreclosure tore them apart. He remembered the day the marshals came, his father sobbing over the papers signed by Marcus's company. Hatred should have burned brighter, yet watching Marcus tend to an injured foal with gentle hands stirred confusion. Tensions rose during a blizzard that trapped the crew for 3 days. They played cards by lantern light, stories flowing. Marcus shared tales of his father's hard but fair dealings, never mentioning the aggressive expansions that had swallowed smaller farms. Derek listened, fists tight under the table. When the storm cleared, they rode out together to check fences. The wide-open fields stretched endless under gray skies. "You seem angry sometimes," Marcus said as they dismounted. Derek's eyes flashed. "Life teaches you to hold things in." That night, alone, Derek punched his pillow, torn between the man he was supposed to hate and the one whose quiet strength felt like home. Marcus paced his house, pouring another drink. The attraction was undeniable now, a warmth that scared him more than any financial risk. Spring thawed the land and work intensified. Marcus promoted Derek to assistant foreman, trusting him with the young colts. Their conversations grew longer during trail rides. Derek opened up about losing his father young, the pain still raw. Marcus shared his own losses, the loneliness of running the ranch solo. One afternoon, repairing a windmill, Derek's hand lingered on Marcus's arm a second too long. They both froze, the air charged. "Sorry," Derek muttered, stepping back. Marcus's heart raced, but he smiled. "No harm." Inside, Derek battled waves of guilt and longing. The family he lost because of this man now seemed distant against the daily kindness. Marcus felt the walls around his heart cracking, the fear of exposure mixing with hope he hadn't allowed himself in years. The crew noticed the change, whispering about the new bond, but no one guessed the depth. Society's shadow loomed, the local pastor's sermons on traditional values, ringing in Marcus's ears during Sunday services he attended alone. As the days lengthened, misunderstandings brewed. A crew member joked about Derek's single status, and Marcus's protective reply drew curious looks. Derek overheard and wondered if the rancher suspected his own hidden truth. The emotional pull tightened, setting the stage for revelations neither could escape. Summer heat baked the Montana fields as the ranch thrived under the new rhythm. Marcus and Derek worked the cattle drives together, their partnership seamless. Marcus found himself confiding more, admitting the isolation of his life. "Folks here expect you to fit the mold," he said one evening by the campfire, stars thick overhead. Derek nodded, his own secrets burning. He had pieced together the truth weeks ago from old newspaper clippings in the town library during a supply run. Marcus Harlan Sr.'s company had targeted his father's homestead, citing unpaid loans that were stretched by bad weather. The stress killed his dad at 52. Derek's mother had fled to relatives, leaving him to scrape by. Being bought by the son felt like fate's cruel joke. Yet the man's decency chipped at the anger. The revelation hit during a fence-mending trip. Derek dropped a tool, voice cracking. "You don't remember me, do you?" Marcus frowned. "Should I?" Derek's eyes hardened. "Your father ruined mine. The Thompson farm, 10 years back. I was 18 when we lost everything." Marcus froze, the hammer slipping from his hand. Memories flooded. His dad's late-night calls about necessary acquisitions. The guilt he had buried. I didn't know," Marcus stammered. "My father handled those deals. I was away at college." Derek turned away, shoulders shaking. "Doesn't change the fact you benefited." The ride back was silent, tension thick as the dust. Marcus replayed every interaction, seeing Derek's resentment in new light. That night, he sat on the porch, whiskey in hand, confronting his inherited sins. The ranch's success felt tainted. Internal storms raged for both. Marcus grappled with guilt, questioning his father's legacy and his own role in keeping the empire intact. Derek wrestled with betrayal and the unwanted pull toward the very man who symbolized his loss. "How can I feel this way?" he whispered to the mirror in the bunkhouse. His identity as a gay man had always been secondary to survival, but now it intertwined with the conflict. Marcus drove into town the next day, avoiding Derek, his mind spinning. The local diner buzzed with gossip about that new hand causing trouble. Society's eyes were everywhere, ready to judge any closeness between men. A family visit complicated things. Marcus's mother arrived for a weekend, pushing him about settling down. "You need someone to share this life with," she said over dinner. Derek served the table quietly, his presence a reminder. Later, alone, Marcus confessed fragments to his mother, careful not to reveal too much. "There's a man here who's important." She misunderstood, assuming business. The misunderstanding deepened Marcus's isolation. Derek, overhearing parts, felt a spark of empathy. The next morning, they spoke in the barn. "I don't want revenge anymore," Derek admitted. "But the past won't let go." Marcus reached out, hand on Derek's shoulder. "Then let's face it together." The touch lingered, electric with unspoken feelings. Misunderstandings cleared slowly, replaced by tentative trust. Yet external pressures mounted when a neighbor complained about odd behavior at the ranch, forcing Marcus to defend their growing bond without exposing the truth. The emotional stakes rose, pulling them toward a crossroads of forgiveness or fracture. Fall colors painted the Montana hills as tensions peaked on Oak Ridge Ranch. The revelation of the past had shifted everything between Marcus and Derek. Work continued, but conversations turned raw during long rides checking the herd. "I spent years hating the name Harlan," Derek said one crisp afternoon, reins loose in his hands. "Now I see you fighting the same shadows I do." Marcus listened, his chest tight. He had spent nights researching the old deals, discovering how his father's tactics had crossed lines. "I can't undo what happened," he replied, "but I can make it right where I stand." Derek's anger softened into understanding, yet doubt lingered. The attraction they both felt complicated every word, a silent current beneath the surface. A crisis hit when Derek's aunt called with news of medical bills mounting back east. The contract bound him to the ranch, but Marcus offered to cover the costs from his own pocket. "It's not charity," he insisted. "It's fixing what my family broke." Derek hesitated, pride warring with gratitude. "Why help the son of the man you ruined?" Marcus met his gaze. "Because you're more than that now." The gesture sparked deeper talks about their identities. Derek admitted his own struggles with being gay in a world that punished difference. "After Dad died, I buried it all, he said. Marcus shared his closeted years, the fear of losing the ranch if the town turned. We're both carrying chains we didn't forge, he added. Their bond strengthened through vulnerability, but society pushed back. A crew member quit after overhearing a late-night conversation, spreading rumors in Willow Creek. Marcus faced cold shoulders at the feed store, his mother calling with worried questions. Betrayal came from an unexpected source. An old business associate of Marcus's father visited, digging into past records and hinting at exposing irregularities unless paid off. Marcus refused, protecting Derek's privacy above all. The stress led to a heated argument. You bought me to ease your guilt, Derek accused during a stormy night in the bunkhouse. Now it might cost you everything. Marcus stood firm. I'd lose it all before losing you. The words hung, raw with meaning. Derek's defenses cracked, tears mixing with rain on the window. They sat in silence, the weight of choices pressing down. Marcus sacrificed a major contract to shield the ranch from scandal, prioritizing truth over profit. Derek saw the sacrifice, his heart shifting fully. The internal crises peaked, forcing both men to confront who they wanted to become. Friendship evolved into something deeper, a quiet promise amid the chaos. Family ties strained further when Derek's aunt urged him to leave, fearing the connection. Marcus's mother confronted him directly. This boy is changing you, and not for the better. The conflicts tested their resolve, building to decisions that would define their futures. Winter returned to Oak Ridge Ranch, blanketing the fields in white as Marcus and Derek navigated the aftermath of their confrontation. The sacrifice Marcus made had stabilized the business but left scars in town relationships. Derek stepped up, taking on extra duties to prove his worth. I won't let your kindness destroy what you've built, he told Marcus during a snowshoe trek to the upper pastures. Their shared vulnerabilities had forged a partnership neither had anticipated. Late nights by the fire brought stories of dreams deferred. Marcus admitting he had always wanted a family of choice, Derek revealing his longing for belonging after loss. The emotional growth was palpable, each man shedding layers of resentment and fear. A pivotal moment came when Marcus proposed renegotiating the contract early. You're free to go if you want, he said, papers in hand. But I'd rather you stay as a partner, not a worker. Derek stared, the offer a bridge over the chasm of their past. After everything, you trust me with this? Marcus nodded. You've shown me what real strength looks like. The choice weighed heavy, Derek's identity crisis resolving as he embraced his feelings openly for the first time. I fought being gay my whole life because of the pain it brought my family. With you, it feels like healing. Marcus confessed his own awakening. Hiding nearly broke me. You're the reason I want to live true. Their connection deepened through quiet gestures, a hand on the back during chores, shared glances that spoke volumes. No words of romance yet, but the foundation solidified. External forces tested them again. A community meeting in Willow Creek turned hostile when rumors escalated. Marcus stood publicly, defending the ranch without details. We all carry burdens. Mine taught me compassion. The room quieted, some nodding in reluctant respect. Derek waited back at the ranch, heart pounding, ready to leave if it protected Marcus. The sacrifice echoed. Derek offered to walk away to spare the ranch further gossip. Marcus refused. We've both lost enough. This time we choose each other. Family reconciliation began when Derek's aunt visited, seeing the changes in her nephew. Your father would be proud of the man you've become, she said. Marcus's mother softened after witnessing their bond, whispering, love finds its way. The misunderstandings cleared, replaced by tentative acceptance. Personal growth bloomed as both men attended a discreet support group in the next county, facing their identities head-on. The path forward gleamed with possibility, though challenges remained. Their journey had transformed pain into purpose, setting the stage for lasting change. Spring bloomed across the Montana ranch, flowers dotting the pastures as Marcus and Derek stood on the porch watching the sunrise. The past year had reshaped them both, turning strangers bound by debt into partners in life and love. Marcus had come out quietly to his closest circle, the ranch thriving under their joint management. Derek had paid off the last of his family's lingering debts with earnings and Marcus's support, closing the chapter on old wounds. "We built something real here," Marcus said, arm around Derek's shoulders. Derek leaned in, the warmth chasing away the final shadows. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but it freed us both. Their bond, forged in conflict and nurtured through understanding, had healed what society and history tried to break. Friends from the crew celebrated with a quiet barbecue, acceptance growing in the tight-knit community. Marcus's mother visited often, embracing Derek as family. Derek's aunt sent letters filled with pride. The emotional journey complete, they faced the future with open hearts. The ranch expanded with new sustainable practices, symbolizing their shared vision. Internal struggles resolved into strength, each man confident in his identity. Societal pressures eased as Willow Creek slowly evolved, their story inspiring quiet conversations about love and resilience. No more hiding, no more guilt. Marcus and Derek rode the trails together, laughter echoing where silence once reigned. The pivotal choices had led to this peace, a testament to growth amid adversity. As they planned a small commitment ceremony under the big sky, the weight of the past lifted fully. Their love stood as proof that understanding could mend even the deepest rifts. True or false? A man can genuinely build a loving future with someone who unknowingly destroyed his family's life, or does the past always make such love impossible?